Public comment period number 2. And this can be on any subject, but the 3-minute still applies. First, Donald Fry.
Good evening. I originally wrote down what I was going to speak about, but now that's going to be twofold within my 3-minute time frame. I have seen that many experts state that going outside of a 5-year plan may not be very advantageous, particularly the way things are nowadays, and as this board and committee already know, with cyber schools and things such as that, it all changes. I also appreciate the fact that we're looking forward with the possibility of 180 homes being built and so on and so forth. Just because they're slated to be built doesn't mean they're going to continue with 180 homes and that people will be buying them right away. But I do appreciate the fact that you're looking into that and take that into consideration. What concerns me is today, as we speak, there are classrooms in the senior high school where there are only 7 students in a classroom, where there are only 13 students in a classroom. These are things that the board may not know about, but I hear about it from students. These are what concern me. Does this happen on a regular basis or an abnormal basis? This I don't know. I am very much appreciative of the fact that we're looking into the future and want to be ready for it, but by the same token, building something that's going to envelop such a monstrosity such as what we're taking on now is, in my opinion, going to be a very much of a burden on the tax-paying residents. I also cannot believe, I know that in the long-term plan that you're looking at building a school in the Montgomery County side. However, utilizing 9th grade coming from junior high into the high school and 6th grade going into the junior high, that opens up 7 6th grade classrooms in 7 elementary schools that previously had 6th grade in them, which is now at the junior high level. I don't see us filling 7 elementary schools with students in order to build a brand new school on the Montgomery County side. You're opening up so many classrooms in each one of our 7 elementary schools by putting 6th grade into junior high. We'll now move on to my next topic. John Milton Sheeler was born in a small town on July 5th, 1920. His mother and father were well known throughout the community. His father served as Burgess of the town he lived in. After graduating high school, John went on to study journalism at the University of Pennsylvania.
30 seconds.
During the mid-1950s, John wrote several children's books. One of these books was geared towards children ages 10 to 14 and discussed the history of astronomy. He wrote several more books into the early 1960s. This wonderful author passed away on February 11, 2008. John Milton Sheeler, class of 1939, Boyertown High School. Another important part of Boyertown history of someone who walked the halls of the old high school building. Thank you for your time.
Next, Charles Haddad, impact on neighborhoods.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Charles Haddad. I am a 1954 graduate of Boyertown High School. I'm probably the oldest one here of a high school graduate. I'm not okay.
1 year ahead of you there.
And you, Kelly, okay.
I rode down there to the University of Pennsylvania with you
That's
on
right.
many a time.
When I see the plans being developed here, I started thinking I had a deprived education. Because I went to that old school, which is a 3-story building. We didn't have all of the amenities I see being developed here. I'm not against that. My concern is, we had teachers in a classroom. Our teachers were our teachers in school. They were our mentors in the athletic field and in the community rooms. And they were our friends in the community. My concern is, how big can we be in Boyertown? In the courtroom, I learned to pick up key phrases. And one phrase I heard tonight was restraint of the land or facility of the area. And that's my concern. How much can we put into Boyertown at this point? Now, you may think I'm an NIMBY theory, not in my backyard. I live across from the high school. I'm not concerned about my backyard. I'm concerned about my front yard and my bedroom. Are you going to come in my bedroom pretty soon? I said that jokingly. I'm more concerned about, do we need to have this concentration at one location? Are we being fair to our students? There's only 5 players can play basketball at one time. Only so many students can excel in music or athletics or any kind of activity. And are we giving our children today that opportunity I had and Hugh Kelly had back in the 50s when we were 100 students in our high school? My high school class still meets for breakfast every month. We're friends. That's 35% of our surviving population. Are we creating that same atmosphere for our students today to learn to be good citizens, not only in school, not only be the smartest people in the world? My class had an equal number of doctors and lawyers and dentists and engineers, bricklayers and carpenters and blue-collar workers.
30 seconds.
Pardon?
30 seconds left.
Thank you. I want to say one thing. I have been involved in every community activity in the Boyertown area, but never in a school situation. And I envy you and I thank you for what you're doing. I don't envy your situation and your problems and what you're doing. But just give us some thought as to where we're going to be, not this year, next year, but 10 years down the road. Thank you. We're going to look at what school used to look like. In fact, your school was built on my farmland. And this farm was from 1795. It was in the Stauffer family. Came from William Penn to Thomas Potts and Pottstown to the Stauffers in 1795. And we broke the chain in 1975. Thank you. One last thing on that. The students in high school are excellent students in the area. They are nice to our property, they're polite, they're courteous, and I've always told administrators, they are great kids. And I just want to see an atmosphere and a physical plant that'll continue to generate and build those kind of great kids. Thank you.
Next one is Ruth Baker, Economics and Budgets.
Good evening. I won't be very lengthy. I had seen the quote about the $200,000 to $250,000 per annual cost on the old building. I wondered how those were broken down, if you could provide an estimate, because I believe that's where the servers for the entire district are. You've got the electric costs for those, as well as the HVAC to keep them at proper temperature. So if someone could answer that, that would be helpful. I also wondered, looking at the feasibility study, I believe, $4.5 million cost for roof replacement for the 92 and the 77 additions that we have already. And just as we build colossal new infrastructure across the country on roads and so forth, that all, of course, has the upkeep costs in the future. So if we're looking at $4.5 million for 2 roof sections there, and if I recall, the last time we did roof replacement on Junior High West, we did it segmented because it was too much of a budget at one time. How is that going to be factored in for these additional spreadings out of the high school structure? I understand you're building up a certain amount, but it's a lot of new roof area. The other thing I wondered was, with the pensions and everything else that we've dealt with in the last several years on the budget, how you'll find an extra $4 to $5 million a year, as is estimated to be the local cost for these building proposals in any of the options considered. And likewise, the 20 years of debt, or whatever it ends up being, on the next generation, when we have a national debt of $16.5 trillion and state debts of I forget how many billion. Somewhere we have to be mindful of what the next generation will face, especially as I see fewer opportunities for kids in the workforce, and that concerns me greatly. Thank you.
project.
Okay, I would like to know at this point, how many of the administration that is making these decisions for the Boyertown School District actually live in the district? That's very concerning to me, since they're the ones who are really directing all of this going on. And I think before we make any decisions at this point, maybe, just maybe, the community has a say, and maybe in the election in May, we should make that a point to have that on there and see if the community actually is in favor of this.
Yeah.
That would be a very good thing to put on the election ballot.
Thank you, Chris. Brenda Meister, back.
Hi. I was wondering, out of all you members, how many of you graduated from Boyertown? Could you raise your hand? 2. So out of 12 people, 2 of you graduated from Boyertown. So I don't understand how the rest of you can decide what happens to our school because you have no sentimental connection to it. You don't understand our community. We've been here for years until I was at school, so I don't understand how you can come in and decide what happens to our school. And we pay the taxes, you know? And I graduated from there in '92, and I understand you need to expand, you know, because the community's growing and everything. But I would like to see the old school stay, and I understand there's upkeep, but you can't tell me there's not upkeep with the rest of the building that was added on there in '96, I guess it was. So do you know how much that upkeep is for the rest of the building? Does anybody know that answer? Is anybody listening? Hello? No? No. They don't know. They don't know. No, they don't care. And that's kind of upsetting. You know, Boyertown's supposed to be.
Excuse me, I do need to make this clarification, if you don't mind, Brenda.
Yes.
When we have comments from the community, it's our practice not to answer, to get a dialogue going back and forth, especially when there are large crowds, and it could get out of hand sometimes, as you can well imagine, when people are emotional about things.
Well, I know.
So, we probably won't be giving you an answer, but if you would like an answer to your questions,
Yes.
we can see that you get that. If you give, is your phone
My
number?
address and phone number's up there.
We can ask to have you, have one of the administrators get back to you and give you an
Yes,
answer.
I would appreciate that.
Okay.
And also, I would like to say Boyertown is supposed to be considered a special kind of place. And I would like to keep it that way, as in a special kind of place that does not tear down history. You know, special kind of place you pull, like I said, I understand you have to expand, but you know what, you can still leave that history, the front of the building, you know what I mean? The structure. And he could have done a graphic of what the inside of the existing building would look like if it was renovated, but that wasn't even presented up there because he already assumed that we're ripping the whole thing down.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Couldn't he have done that? Did a presentation of what the inside of the building would look like if we did? It's already been decided, I guess.
That's the problem.
So,
That's it, yeah.
That's the problem.
thank you.
We never did get an answer on why there was not any consideration for using the old part of the building for one of the academies. Was there anything, the only impression I get is that the board is being led by the administration on this project.
They don't want it.
I agree with you.
They don't like it.
Okay,
No comment?
They won't comment.
yeah, go ahead.
I would just like to make a comment. There seems to be a misconception. I know I've spoken to some people about the old building, and I'm more than happy to take phone calls. My number's on the website, as are many other people. And we don't know your feelings if you don't communicate them to us. But first of all, there has been no decision made about the old building. There has been a decision made through the design, let's see, how do we do that? The plan con, I get all confused with all the letters and where we are, I apologize for that. B and C, the design schematic, we approved that, and that's what you saw tonight, the board did approve that. the academy concept, which gets into smaller sections for kids, so that you have more community type things, kind of like what Mr. Haddad was talking about when he went to school. But that's something that if you come back to a meeting, I think we're going to have more information about what that academy concept is. So you're knowledgeable about what we're hearing and what our comprehensive plan looks like and what we want for our students in our community. But there has been no decision made about the old high school. Whether it's going to stand as it is with a firewall between that section and what's happening, whether the 1938 section's taken out and the building stands alone, and we make sure that it has all it needs to be maintained, because you don't want to have a building stand and get destroyed because it's not cared for. That is a major concern if we would take that option. The other option is to raise it, and that's why you're here, because you don't want that to happen. I understand that, because you have attachments. You know, the board members are very concerned about hearing you. We're all concerned about what we can do with that building to make it feasible, to keep it, if we're gonna keep it. We've had lots of discussion. So, I don't want you to go away with the misconception that a decision's been made, because we have not taken a vote on what will happen to that building.
In addition to that meeting in March 11th will be an opportunity for more discussion on that. And we're in a position here, we're concerned about the economics of the community, and we have to blend that with the economics of maintaining and providing education for the kids. And it's not going to be cheap, but we are, as a board, continually working to be as efficient as we possibly can and still provide the best education for our students. And as I said before, if we had 20 people designing a building, there'd be 20 designs. So, as it is right now, we are doing a design, and I guess my question is, what is wrong with the design that we have? And I think that's what we should be addressing in March. This is the design, this is what we as a board think is the best design. And at that time, if you have any problems with it, I would like to hear your comments at that time. Okay, anything else coming before the board?
When will we find out when you have a decision?
What's that?
When will we find out when you make a decision on the old building?
It'll be sometime after the March 11th meeting.
All right.
Yes.
Can I just ask a question? Unless I missed it, I don't think one of the options was to redo the old building and have that as an academy, was it?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Why wasn't it an option?
That's one of the 200 ideas that you could have. We have one group says this is the idea we want to go with, and that's what we're going to go with. Now, after we have our discussion on March 11th, if there's a reason to change the design, we're not opposed to that. But one of the comments today was sentimental connection. I made a comment one time about the emotional connection. I realize that they're there, and that's part of historic value. But should that be our business as a school board to maintain that building just for the historic value?
You gotta use it.
The problem,
I think
these guys don't teach any history, the
I
history
think
of the building.
Why do
the
we even
history of
keep
the
Boyertown in?
Excuse me, wait a minute,
Why-
board member.
Why keep anything?
I think the Department of Ed and the PSBA did do a study on renovation or building, and I think they had a lot of good points in there about renovating,
Yeah.
and it produces less trash to the landfills, and they had a lot of good points in it. I don't know if any of the board members read it. to get an education.
For your information and for all that hasn't been ruled out, as we had said earlier.
Right, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
that maybe the board members should acquaint themselves with that study.
Well, we have planned to have a tour of the building with the board members.
Right, I realize that, but I'm saying PSBA and the Department of Ed put out a 31-page report.
Okay, so you think we should be acquainted with that report? Okay.
Can I make a suggestion, and, Mrs. Carroll, as many of us send information that we get that we think is important to all board members by email, could you send that if you think that that's important for all of us by email? I think that would be a nice gesture on your part.
I can do that.
Thank you.
That's all, I need a motion to adjourn. Second?